think this is a good transition because one of the things that we're doing today, you, myself, but people in general, is social media. And we are creating images that we know will be seen. Not necessarily that we want to be seen, but that we know will be seen. So how am I going to formulate my image on Facebook, knowing that potential employers could be looking at? Which is something I find really bothersome, to be honest. Not that I go out drinking excessively anyway, but if you're at a bar with your friends and you go out once a month and you have a picture with slightly reddened cheeks and you're holding a beer and there's an empty shot next to you, this might be a highly infrequent event for you to do, but there is something that's setting in the back of your head. How will people view this? And I know that's definitely the case in a larger professional setting. When a person looks at your LinkedIn or your other social media accounts, that there's a fracturing between the reality, the truth that I want to be known, and the truth that is the personal life and the public life. Now, you have separately the scientific communications on social media. How different is that than your personal life? Is it a segment of your personal life, or is it something separate? Is it something that you feel a bit torn on? I mean, this is something that I definitely personally feel affected by. I hate the feeling of being about to post something and then thinking, is somebody going to take this with ill intent?
I think definitely for you, because your social media communication on a professional level, it's still your face. For me, the social media platform that I run, Fun Fact Science, it's a logo. It's an idea rather than me presenting. These are Kovi's ideas, and that has its benefits, but it also has its detriments. And so I think with you, it's a lot easier to see that kind of clash, between what you present on that side of things. For me, it's different in an interesting way, because to be honest, I've been feeling less and less of a pull towards social media over the past couple of years. And I think if I wasn't specifically running, Fun Fact Science, and I wasn't so involved in the science communication community online, I wouldn't feel any pull towards social media. So what I try to do with my own personal page, and I don't actually have, I have a Twitter and an Instagram for Fun Fact Science, and I have a Facebook page myself and a Facebook page for Fun Fact Science. I don't have my own personal Instagram or Twitter. And the thing is, so that one personal account that I do have on Facebook, I generally use that, and I try to use that for the communication of good ideas. I try to use it for more or less the same purposes. And I'm not going around, posting personal, private things that really should remain private, or that, just aren't really necessary. I don't understand this whole idea of, sharing each individual moment.
I don't understand Twitter at all.
I'm just starting to get it. I've been on Twitter for about 3 years, and I'm just starting to get it.
No, I understand its use. I understand it as a platform. What I don't understand is why people have the desire to keep people up to date with random thoughts. I have the desire to share my random thoughts with my close friends, my family, the guy sitting next to me on the train. But there's a statement there about proximity and convenience and something organic. It's snap. There it is. Isn't it weird that potatoes have eyes?
I mean, going back to what you were saying right at the start about, being able to categorize all humans into 2 categories, right? We're talking about moderators and abstainers. You can look at the universe and everything in the universe as being in one of two categories, either a potato or not a potato. So I'll just leave you with that thought, and you can take that how you like. I think Twitter works like most social media platforms as a series of bubbles. Picture a 3D Venn diagram that has, more or less intersections with other bubbles. So there's sports Twitter, and there's science Twitter, and there's nerd Twitter. Forget nerd Twitter within itself. You have Star Trek Twitter, you have gaming Twitter, all of these different bubbles within bubbles, and connecting in different ways. I generally try to stay out of the political bubbles, and generally most of the content that I see and most of the content that I post is in the science Twitter world. And the thing is, most of it is actually, as I see it, most of it is interesting because it's interesting scientifically. When somebody posts a picture of an astrophotography, I'm assuming just from the name you can figure out what it is, right? But these people that, when you have amateur astrophotographers, are people who spend thousands of dollars on cameras and telescope setups, and they create beautiful long exposure images of the sky in a way that most of us don't see when we live in a city, right? And when I see stuff like that on science Twitter, I love it. When I see people posting about their areas of research, I say, wow, that's interesting. Somebody recently posted about an explanation of the way stars evolve, but like for dummies. They called it a bad HR diagram. The HR diagram is a map of stellar evolution, but I won't bore you with that. And so people in science Twitter, at least, are creating content that's relevant and interesting to other people on science Twitter. And the only thing that gets close to what you described as these kind of just boring and mundane updates about my life or what I'm doing at this present moment, the things like that I do see are generally things that are extremely relatable and provide you with a feeling of, I understand that, I recognize that. If it's something that requires support, I support you in that. But for the most part, it's like, wow, I identify with that. A lot of the time on science or academic Twitter, you'll see people complaining about writing code, or I was working on this data set, and I was working on it for 3 days, and suddenly my computer crashed. It's relatable to people within that sphere. It's relatable. You know what I mean?
I think just by dint of me being involved in what people see as very controversial fields, whether it's politics in general or Middle Eastern politics or international terrorism, these aren't necessarily things that I feel to be controversial. I don't have problems sitting down with a person who has a radically different opinion than me or ideology if I'm in person, which is something that I find to be odd, that digital conversation lacks so much of the ability of in-person conversation, especially along the subject of good faith. It's very difficult to call someone an idiot when you're looking across the seat from them, when you're sitting next to each other, and that they could hit you in the face. It's a lot more easygoing. It's a lot more calm. And part of the function of the podcast is to bridge this gap between in-person communities that have an organic nature, that have the ability to convey emotion and comfort and camaraderie, and online communities which clearly have the access and convenience.
I think the first thing I'll say is that evolutionarily, we're not yet fully adapted. Humans are not yet fully adapted to, the technology that's at our fingertips. We haven't yet figured out how to deal emotionally with the concept of total anonymity. You can be totally emotionally removed from the damage that you're doing to another person by virtue of the things that you say or post, right? And I think that's we're crawling, we're taking our first steps, but we're not really quite there. There's a lack of empathy, and some people feel that they, from behind their keyboards, can say terrible things to other people without being able to humanize the person on the other end.
Something I would find interesting for research, somebody please do this research, I will Venmo you $1, is if people got harsher critique or were more disrespected if they had profile pictures of themselves as opposed to profile pictures of themselves with their family. Something that makes that distance narrow or makes them more relatable. As usual, we got completely sidetracked, which was highly enjoyable. I'm happy to get sidetracked with you any day of the week. God willing, we'll have you on in the future. Kovi, thank you so much for joining me, and happy Passover.
Happy Passover, man. This was wonderful. I really appreciate, the chance to share some of my ideas. As I said before, I'm not an expert on any of these topics, even the ones that I, am academically focused on. But it was great to just, sit down, have a chat face to face, or as close as we can get these days.